gather to recognize and celebrate alumni achievement. For those of you who have not yet met, I'm pleased to introduce myself. I've been here for a bit over a year. I just celebrated my one-year anniversary this past July. And over the year, I found that I'm fortunate, really, to work at a school that is truly remarkable, with an outstanding curriculum, a very intimate atmosphere, and faculty members who care about their work and care even more about their students. However, I think what I find most impressive is our alumni. Our graduates further their studies at the nation's most prestigious colleges and universities. They successfully compete in college athletics and make significant contributions to their careers, communities, and causes. Our alumni list are comprised of countless examples of people doing remarkable work, and those being honored tonight are among the most impressive. I extend my congratulations to you and look forward to meeting you and your family. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Jim Newman, head of school, to offer his welcome and congratulations to you as well.
Thank you, Jess, and good welcome and welcome everyone. It's a delight to speak with each of you, each of the recipients of our alumni awards in the upper school library. Those conversations remind me that although certain aspects of how we teach and what we teach have changed, a lot of what occurs in the academy today thankfully remains the same as when our recipients of our awards were students here. Right now, it's my pleasure, on behalf of the faculty, the staff, and the administration of the school, to welcome you, and to congratulate you, and of course to say, welcome home. What you achieved as students at the academy, and later in your professional careers, is evidence of your focus, your determination, your resilience, and your ability to work very effectively with your peers. All of this makes you very worthy of the awards that you will receive this evening. As we've done in the past, we will make your achievements well known to our current students. We'll do this because what you've achieved and how you have attained your success serves as models to our current students. Much like when you were enrolled in the upper school here at the academy, our current students search for role models. You and your fellow alums who received awards in the past years are wonderful role models to our current day students. Our students identify with you because they share a common experience with you in our classrooms and on the fields or courts of athletics. Our students have seen video clips of speeches and they have read what is written about you. It's also for this reason that we ask the recipient of the Academy's annual Alumna or Alumnus Award to deliver the commencement speech each year at graduation in June. You loom large in their eyes, and for very good reason. In short, we're proud of your achievements, and I hope you will continue to remain in touch with us. Your ability to influence the lives of our students is greater than you might think, and I could not be more grateful to you for that. Congratulations and best wishes.
Tonight is actually the culmination of a process that began many months ago. We relied on the efforts of our volunteers to look over a list of alumni, gather data, and make formal nominations of the recipients. Jean Serino oversees the good work of the Hall of Fame Committee, which is chaired by Emily Davis-Kassoff, class of 1986, while George Gonzalez works closely with the Alumni Council to determine our Alumni Award winners. We are fortunate to have the President of the Alumni Council with us this evening to share a few remarks. Please join me in welcoming Joe Gillette, class of 82, to the stage.
Sounds like a very official title, that President of Alumni Council. George Gonzalez makes my job very easy, so thank you, George. Thank you for that very kind intro, Jess. Tonight's a special night, and I know because I was part of the inductee class in 2004 and have very, very fond memories of that evening. And I think we've got recipients who have come from as far away as California and Washington. So it's no secret that when we recognize alumni for their achievements, it's meaningful to them and meaningful to their families. And as Jim said, I think something to hold up as role models for our current students. We do have a few award recipients in the audience tonight that I wanted to recognize. We've already mentioned George's name, but George Gonzalez, Steve Stewart, Andrea Bellis, and Stacy Goldstein are all former Hall of Fame inductees that are here with us tonight. I've been out of school so long from the Academy that Steve Stewart and George Gonzalez feel more like peers than former coaches, but it's good to take in the evening with you guys. I just made a note on what makes the Academy a special place, and for me it boils down to a couple of things. One is the closeness of the community, and I told a story in the Alumni Council meeting this afternoon. Whoever came up with the Circle H, that brand, is doing a great job, because I was lost this morning driving around Harrisburg looking for a florist to buy flowers for my ailing mother, and I saw somebody with a Circle H and said, they'll help me out. There's something about, you know, if you went to this place and you're affiliated with the Academy, you know that you share a special bond with everyone else in the same boat. We also discussed something in the meeting this afternoon. We did a survey of about 80 alumni respondents that we got, and the biggest thing that jumped off the page to me in terms of the survey results was that 85% of the respondents felt that the Academy did a great job in preparing them for life. And that's, at the end of the day, what education is all about. And I must say that other than my parents, I think the Academy prepared me for life quite well. And I'm out there reaching for the stars every day in real life and grabbing them, and I'm unafraid to get after it. And a lot of that has to do with the experiences that I had as a teenager back here. So thank you to my former coaches and teachers and everyone here at the Academy. And the last thing I wanted to share is that from that survey, we saw that 85% feel great pride in the Academy and being affiliated with it. And I think tonight is a special, prideful evening. So let's enjoy the evening, and congratulations to all the award recipients.
Thanks, Joe. I'm pleased to kick off this special evening with our 8th annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony. The Academy established the Athletics Hall of Fame in 2004 to recognize and honor outstanding achievement of students, coaches, and friends of the Academy's athletics program. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Steve Stewart himself, Hall of Fame 2008, to the stage to say a few words about our first inductee of the evening, Mindy Goodman, class of 1981.
Good evening. It's so nice to greet everyone again in this special evening. Quiet by nature, unassuming by choice, Mindy Goodman was not one to call attention to herself. She was any coach's dream athlete. Her cat-like moves allowed her to start and stop on a dime, and her 100-pound frame was a muscle. Mindy possessed a strong throwing arm and soft hands that made her softball's ideal shortstop. On any given game day, Mindy could be seen fielding a ball up the middle, pivoting easily, and begin turning the front end of a textbook double play. I don't remember her making an error. I'm sure she did once or twice, but my recollections from 30 years ago only remember the graceful moves of a hustling, quick-reflexed athlete whose instincts for the game made her a natural. On the field, Mindy knew how to play a hitter's tendencies and positioned herself without being coached. Like many respected athletes, Mindy led more by her quiet example and less as a team's cheerleader. All will remember her for what she could do with her bat and her glove. Others will remember her aggressive play on the basketball court and the steady hand that turned layups and jump shots into game-winning points. The same skills that brought her success in these sports carried over into her fast-paced play in field hockey and tennis. Mindy was the player who carried her teams. As her softball coach and as a sideline spectator during her 4 varsity years, the natural athletic ability and drive I saw in Mindy was also recognized by other coaches, teammates, and fans alike. Her credentialed Academy athletic record is resplendent with such achievements that include 2 captaincies in both field hockey and basketball, and another in tennis, 2 MVP seasons, and 2 all-conference selections in basketball. And while doing all of this, Mindy is still recognized as the 7th all-time leading basketball scorer in Academy history. Now, the demand for this star athlete came to a head in 1981 during the spring sports season. It was Mindy's senior year, and she was torn between playing softball or tennis. Well, I was not about to give up my prize shortstop, and our tennis coach was equally determined to see Mindy play tennis. You can imagine the intensity of these discussions as players and coaches negotiated what course of action to take that would save their seasons, as well as Mindy's commitment to make to a team. In the realm of athleticdom, our precedent-setting decision was a high matter of state. And as far as we know, the position we took that day has not happened before or since. It was decided to allow Mindy to play for both teams simultaneously. She would play as many tennis matches and as many softball games as both schedules would allow. Mindy divided practice time between both teams, and everyone accepted it. I know of no other Academy athlete that has been afforded a contract with such lucrative concessions. For these and all of her other achievements, the Academy awarded Mindy the 1981 Sports Club Trophy. Today, Mindy is a successful Harrisburg attorney of law, concentrating on family law, estate planning, and administration. Having had her own practice since 1997, Mindy also does pro bono work for the Dauphin County Bar Association and accepts court appointments for indigent people. Mindy is also a Girl Scout troop leader and chairs several committees at her daughter's elementary school. Shortly after her graduation, knee surgery ended the prospects of playing at the college level, but recreationally, Mindy has played tennis, volleyball, softball, and basketball well after high school. I'm so pleased to be presenting Mindy for the induction into the Harrisburg Academy Hall of Fame this year. Mindy?
Auditorium. I received an award, an athletic award, and I promptly thereafter fell down the steps. So I hope not to repeat that this evening. First, I do want to thank the committee for giving me this honor. I also want to thank Steve Stewart for introducing me this evening, and congratulate all the other inductees this evening. Some of my fondest memories of high school involved athletics. Back then, here at the Academy in particular, participating in sports wasn't necessarily about winning. It was about spending time with friends and doing things that we enjoyed. It was an opportunity to connect with people that we might otherwise never have known. Sports was a vital part of my youth and provided me with a variety of life lessons, such as discipline, teamwork, sportsmanship, social skills, self-confidence, and a positive way to channel my competitiveness and aggression. I've always believed that participation in sports may be a character builder, and I use the term may on purpose. Too many times in today's society, coaches in sports want to win at all costs. There is a time and a place for that, but at the elementary and the secondary level, I think that's a disservice to our children. I'm not suggesting that children should not be competitive. I think competitiveness is a wonderful thing. I'm just simply suggesting that win at all costs, when we have that mentality, we lose many of the benefits that children might gain through sports. For children, sports should be fun. They should provide an opportunity for exercise. It should be about teamwork and learning social skills. Sports should be about sportsmanship and having respect for others whose abilities might be better than or not as good as our own. When kids are allowed to participate in sports, and athletics are just simply fun, sports do build character, and the lessons learned often lead to a healthier, more fulfilling adulthood. It's for these reasons and this philosophy that I'm thankful to have been a part of sports at the Harrisburg Academy. I am and have always been a competitive person. While here at the Academy, I'd often get frustrated when we didn't win. I'd get upset with coaches who insisted on playing everybody just to be fair. As an adult, I realize now that my life would not have been any better if we'd have won state championships. My life wouldn't have been better, but it certainly would have been different. Maybe I wouldn't be as compassionate towards others. I don't know. As a family law attorney, I don't think that I would represent my clients as well if I were unable to work with others, unable to compromise, and I sought only the win. Participating in sports in the Academy was a character builder for me. I graduated from here 30 years ago, and maybe it's different now, but when I was at the Academy, no one was ever cut from the team. Everyone got to play, maybe not in every game, but everyone did participate, and everyone was a part of the team. I learned to work with others and support others who are trying their best to be a part of our team. When you ask kids today about their heroes, most of them will point to athletes, and they're generally the ones who are best on their team or the best in their particular sport. And generally it's the kids in high school who are athletes that are the most popular. But as a society, I think we've taught our children to value sports and success in sports so highly that unless you're one of the best, it's no longer fun. And when it's not fun, kids don't want to participate. And when kids don't want to participate in sports, valuable life lessons are lost. One of the things I loved most about the Academy was the ability to participate in multiple sports. Today, it's all about specialization. Because we value winning above all else, kids pick one sport, and that's all they do. Whatever their sport is, they do it year-round, with lessons, clinics, with coaches, and those kinds of things. It becomes work, and it's no longer fun. But as I said, one of my greatest joys was participating in many sports. I played field hockey in the fall, basketball in the winter, tennis in the spring, and my senior year I got to do tennis and softball, which was truly a joy. Our teams didn't always win. I'm not sure our softball team ever won. I'm really not sure about it. I don't think we did. But it was always fun. So sometimes it was frustrating, but it was always fun. So even when our teams were bad, which happened a lot, we shared that together. It was something that we shared together. I could not imagine my childhood and what it would have been like without sports. And for the reasons I've stated, I believe that participating in sports at the Academy was better than participating in sports anywhere else. I'm honored that I was chosen to be a part of the Hall of Fame, and I thank you again for that. I just want to conclude by saying that winning is great, but a chance to participate and have fun is even better. Thank you.
The second member to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this evening is Renee Healy O'Connell, class of 1999. I invite her former coach and mentor and the Academy's Director of Athletics, Jean Serino, to say a few words on her behalf.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, friends, for sharing this special celebration with us. Welcome back to the Academy, distinguished alumni, Mindy, Alexis, Alex, and Renee, and congratulations to all of you. I have the pleasure and distinct honor to present Renee Healy, class of 1999, in this year's Athletics Hall of Fame. I'd like to welcome Renee's family. Marianne could not be here, who's home with Renee's two sick children. Don, DJ, Matt, and of course her husband Karen, and her children are Emma and Steven. The family life isn't keeping Renee busy enough. She is also teaching middle school math at Towson and continues to play co-ed football, softball, and basketball. In addition, she coached indoor field hockey at Sir Vernon Park in Maryland. I remember when Renee came to the Academy. It was 1994 in the 8th grade. I immediately noticed her spunk and love of sports. She played field hockey, basketball, and softball, and continued to play all three sports throughout the upper school. Growing up in the middle of DJ and Matt had to develop Renee's fighting spirit. She didn't play lacrosse or ice hockey, but I'm sure there was competition over who sat closer to the TV and who even got the remote control. This spirit was what made it so easy to coach Renee. She had intensity about her, which was why she was picked for captain of every team she played on. And she was a leader at practice and in games. practice in the 5 years she was a triathlete. She received the Coaches Award in field hockey her senior year and in basketball her freshman year. Her senior year, she finished with 32 assists, 16 steals, and 57 points, and was SIAC League All-Star for both teams. On our softball team, she was our leadoff hitter and played second base. She was our best base runner and was never afraid to get in the dirt. Renee's senior year paved the way and was the first of our 4-year championship run in softball. We eventually made up for the 80s, Mindy. In addition, Renee was a 3-time athletic achievement recipient for freshman, sophomore, and junior years, and was awarded the prestigious Sports Club Trophy Award her senior year. When I asked her teammate Kia Shoel what kind of teammate does she remember Renee being, she said, and I quote, "I remember Renee always being a real team player, hardworking and self-motivated. She always remained humble, and despite being talented, and I always admired that in her. Renee, growing up in a sports family such as yours left you really no alternative than to play sports. But I want to tell you that your fierce spirit, your dedication, positive attitude, sense of fun was a gift to all of us that coached you and played on the same team." I would like to conclude my presentation by quoting Renee's teammate, Courtney Kaplan, 2009 Hall of Famer, who wanted to present Renee this evening, but unfortunately had to be at a family wedding. Renee was a quintessential athlete, a teammate I couldn't ask for more on the field or court than what Renee Healy delivered each and every time she suited up. She played with so much heart that she became the envy of all of her teammates. Whether it was to score a winning goal, have a best friend to talk to on the home bus rides to West Nottingham Academy, or be reminded of exactly how many outs we had remaining to get in that inning and what base the ball should be thrown to for a force out, we could always count on Renee to lead us to victory. She was a captain, a leader, a scrapper, but most of all, a friend. I couldn't think of anyone better suited to join Harrisburg Academy Athletics Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Renee. You truly deserve this honor.
Sure which I was more excited for, the award itself or being able to come back here to the Academy. The Academy was and still is like a second family to me. I believe anyone who has graduated from the Academy can agree that the bonds between friends, teachers, faculty, and coaches that grow within these walls are not only unforgettable but unbreakable. It could be years before I see an old friend or a former teacher or coach who I knew from my time here, and when we see each other, it feels like yesterday, like no time has passed. As you know, the Academy is a small school, bringing everyone extremely close. My classmates and I seem to have every single class together. Every sport team we played on was with the exact same people. Essentially, we could never get away from each other. However, this intimate environment gave us the opportunity to form close bonds, and I cherish that fact, that those relationships still endure today. The Academy's high academic expectations were second to none in preparing me for higher education. I still remember my freshman year at Northeastern University when my roommates were complaining about how overwhelmed they were with the long essays they had to write, so many books to read, and so forth. I, on the other hand, was not overwhelmed at all. I was prepared, having had the same workload in high school. The Academy's rigorous curriculum set me up for success in college. achieving a 3.8 in my first semester. I couldn't have achieved this level of success without the Academy's enriched academic program. It is the teachers, the coaches, and the entire community of the Academy for which I have to thank for being honored here tonight. Together, they created the atmosphere that instilled in me a love for learning and largely contributed to why I wanted to continue in education by becoming a teacher. I can still remember the in-depth discussions in Dr. March's class, including when she got so excited about the book, The World According to Garb, that she stood on the table teaching us. I remember taking an exam with Miss Smith during biology class, and the test wasn't taken by the usual pencil and paper, but by putting toothpicks in pigs' brains to label each section and part of the brain. I also remember listening to Dr. Jones and thinking he has to be one of the most knowledgeable people I have ever met. And even though I remember not doing so well in math class, they must have still sparked a light in me because, as Coach Serino had said, I'm teaching middle school mathematics. So the Academy has also provided me, obviously tonight with the award, the opportunity to play 3 sports: field hockey, basketball, and softball. As many of you can attest, playing a sport each season forces you to manage your time and prioritize responsibilities. There was always excitement mixed with dread when August came around. I absolutely loved playing field hockey, however, never looked forward to the timed run we had to do in the first week of preseason. Even though this run was exhausting, it was team building. We would encourage each other and push each other to our limits. I still remember the game we were all terrified of each year, against York Country Day. This school had Big Country. That was her nickname. And she was just that. Whenever she came to drive the ball, we all dodged. Field hockey is about teamwork, and we may not have won every game, but we were a team that shared the common fear of Big Country, and a team that could also share mouth guards. Yeah, oh, well, no. I thought it was your country day, but... It's hard for me to say which one of these is my favorite sport, because when I'm in the season, whichever it is, that one seems to be my favorite. Basketball has always been a top contender, though. Even more so now because my husband is a high school varsity basketball coach. If you do not know who my husband is, I'm sure you noticed the extra tall 6'5" gentleman earlier walking around. When I look back as a player, I remember how anxious I always was whenever Coach Serino took me out of the game, and I just stared at her, sitting next to her, waiting for her to give me the signal to go back in. I also remember Mrs. Kaplan being the best announcer, announcing us as if we were in the WNBA. And of course, when basketball was finished, we had only a few weeks until softball season began. From that team, I vividly remember one game over all the others. It was my senior year in the game to lead us to the championship. As first batter, I got on first base with a ground hit. I went to steal and dove into second base head first. Immediately, my arm hurt. I knew something was wrong. However, my mom didn't believe me. And she made me stay in the game until the end. But luckily, I drove to the game, so Mel Wanger and I drove ourselves to the ER, and what do you know, I had broken my arm. Overall, I feel honored to have spent most of my athletic seasons on and off the court and on and off the field with Coach Serino. Coach Serino taught me to strive to be the best I can be. She taught me to always go out and give it my all. She often referred to me as scrappy and actually wanted me to wear knee pads on the basketball court because I was always on the floor. There were times during softball where we went on losing streaks, but it was always Coach Serino who taught us never to give up. Each game we went on the field as if we were undefeatable, never with the losses on our shoulders. And under the leadership of Coach Serino, combined with her consistency, determination, and dedication to the team, my senior year, our softball team won the SIAC championship. Being a part of the Academy's program is a pinnacle experience, and I feel honored to accept this award and be able to be here and thank everyone in person for giving me this opportunity. Academically, athletically, socially, it means a lot. Thank you.
Graduating only 1 year after Renee, a member of the class of 2000, is our next inductee, Alexis Dissinger, McConville. I invite her sister, Alicia, class of 2004, to say a few words about Alexis.
Hi. It is an honor tonight to introduce my sister and to be here to induct her into the Hall of Fame. She's had a very long career here at the Academy. She's a survivor, so she's been here for 13 years. A very long time in the scheme of things. But she's played sports at the Academy since the minute you could play sports in middle school until the time that she graduated. And I think she's even playing sport before that in elementary school in our local town. She played a sport every season. She played field hockey, basketball, and softball. And even after high school, she went on to college and continued to play softball for Dickinson. And then even after that, she still continued and played in summer leagues. And I believe every now and then she still gets out to play some softball, despite having a 1-year-old child at home. Alexis is the kind of player that you want on your team, that you want to play with. Being 4 years apart, that didn't always happen too often for me, but when it did, it was fun. She's also the player that, you may not believe me, but she's the player that you like to play against. And I was always playing against her, most likely. Not always the best experience for me, especially the losing part. But that's okay. She's a very talented player. She taught me a lot. I could stand here and give you many examples of things that she's done and skills that she's even taught me, but some of her achievements here at the Academy, I think, speak for themselves. She was SIAC All-Star for field hockey, a SIAC All-Star and All-Conference in basketball, and a SIAC All-Conference 2 years in a row for softball. She's also won the Coaches Award and MVP in basketball, the Outstanding Player Award in softball, the Athletic Achievement Award 3 years in a row, and finally, I'll quit with my list, she was the Sports Philanthropy Award winner her senior year. And that was something I always admired and looked up to her for. But this is only part of the reason that she's here tonight. It's not just because of her skills and how good she was at playing these multiple sports, but it's also the way that she was in the field with her teammates. She would always push them and challenge them to do better, and she would try to bring out the best in these people. And for example, with me, there would always be times when she'd be like, I think you can throw harder than that. Come on. So she'd push me whether I wanted to be pushed or not at that moment. But it always worked out for the best. She would challenge me to throw harder, throw faster, and be more accurate. And she did this with her teammates as well. And it was great because not only was I learning, I realized that when I would step up to face her challenges, it made her better because she would rise to meet me at this occasion. And so making her teammates better and pushing them, they actually pushed her and made her better. So it was really this team effort. And it's not just the way that she is on the field, but also the way she is off the field and off the court. Outside of games, outside of practice, she'd be the person that you could go to and talk to. And if you had a problem, anything, she wanted to hear about it. And I think this makes her a very well-rounded athlete. And I think this is one of the reasons that she was captain in basketball and softball. And also on the field and on the court, people could come to her with questions, ask her, you know, how do I do this right? How do I do this better? I've asked her many times. So how do you hit those home runs again? Give me a little secret. And it was always just try harder. No, she gave me better pointers than that. But all these things that she's learned here from the Academy, from her coaches, she's taken with her and has used these skills. And she graduated college in 4 years, and also in 4 years, she went to law school, got a JD and an MBA. and also playing softball at the same time. Not only that, she has a great job, a wonderful husband, and a beautiful daughter who turned 1 year old yesterday. So it's really an honor to be here tonight and to induct my sister into the Hall of Fame. Because whether she knows it or not, she may be finding this out tonight for the first time, but she is my hero. So I'm very proud and excited to welcome you to the Hall of Fame. It's such an honor to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's especially an honor to be inducted by my sister. I can't imagine anybody else being up here with me. You know, she kind of talked a little bit about pushing her. I don't quite remember it the same way. You know, I remember friendly competition, playing a little one-on-one, the basketball court, and just having a nice game of catch in the backyard. I don't remember this whole, we gotta throw faster or harder. But I guess my memories are a little skewed. But I do want to say thank you for always practicing with me and always trying to work with me to help me refine my skills, because when we practiced, it was helping me get better as well. I also want to thank the Hall of Fame committee and Jean Serino as well, and Gons, who they have a big part in organizing all this. So thank you so much. I also want to thank my parents, because without them, none of this would have happened. I think the role that parents play in athletics is really underrated. They're responsible for driving us to practice, making sure we get home. I didn't just play softball here at the academy. I played sports outside of here as well. And so there were a lot of weekends, a lot of evenings where we were on the road and traveling. So we spent a lot of time in the car. So I thank you for your dedication and commitment to my hobbies. It means a lot that you allowed me to do what I love, which was to play sports. Alicia kind of mentioned that I was a triathlete. So that meant I actually got to spend a lot of time with some of our Hall of Fame inductees tonight. I got to play with Renee and Alex. I guess the only one I didn't get to play with was Mindy, but I think that probably would have been fun as well. So. But it's such an honor to be inducted with three other athletes that were great caliber. And Jean Serino, she's been here for, what do you say, almost 2 decades now, Coach? She's coached 5 Hall of Fame recipients. 3 of us are here tonight. I have to say she's definitely somebody who's responsible for helping me achieve my goals. She definitely has spent a lot of time pushing us and trying to make us be better than we are. I remember, how many practices we were at where we had to do suicides, or we have to stand on the foul line until we made so many foul shots and run if we missed, crazy stuff, right? And I remember coming up with new ideas to try to make us get better. But I have to say, when she came up with something new and hard for us to do, all I could hear was, ha 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 ha, I'm gonna get you. But seriously, thank you for helping push me to be better. As a team, we went through a lot of ups and downs. I think we had some losing seasons and we had some really great seasons as well. We had 2 winning championships in softball. We won in '99 and 2000. But I think through both the good and the bad, we kind of rallied and persevered. We practiced hard. We practiced in season. We had weekend practices. We had evening practices. We had to hang around and wait for the basketball court to kind of empty out from the elementary school practices. We went to skills camps together in the summer. So it was great. And we played, not because we really thought we were going to go somewhere with our skills, but we played because we really loved the sport. And I think that's something that the Academy is great for. I think people here play because they really have a passion for the sport and really want to do well with that sport. I have to say that every success and every failure here
taught me lessons that I carry with me today. I don't know about you guys, but in the real world, I kind of feel like my teamwork skills are the things that I use most. It's probably the area that I'm tested most on a daily basis. You know. So, I kind of wish that meetings at work would be more like practices. If somebody shows up late, maybe you could send them around the building for a couple of runs until they learn that they have to be there on time. So, but it also teaches you time management. And I think that's one of the things the Academy is really great for. You know, they're really well known for their academics. So as a student athlete, you have homework, you have to study, you have to get good grades. On top of that, you have at least 2 hours of practice every day, not to mention away games too. Renee kind of hinted at Belleville Mennonite. I have memories of Belleville as well. I remember Big Country, but I also remember the Children of the Corn, and the cornfield right up against the field hockey field. So if you hit a ball out of bounds, you were diving into the corn to try to find it. Coach, did you say it was still there? But it forces you to not procrastinate. You have to plan in advance. You have to find time to study in between all of the other things that you have to do. You know, I'm really thankful for the education and the foundation that the Academy provided. I'm also really thankful that you guys hire top-notch teachers. The teachers here are phenomenal. I think some of the best that I've ever had. Actually, I have a really interesting story. Alicia had told you guys that I recently had a daughter. She's a year old now. And Dr. Jones, who I assume most of you probably know, found out that we had a daughter, and he sent us a basketball, a little miniature basketball for Emily. And on it, he had drawn little hoops with the dissingers, so my sister and I, missing all of our shots. And of course, on the other side, he's, of course, nothing but net. So he's, in his letter, he challenged Emily to a game of pig, which is, for anybody who doesn't know, a game of pig is kind of, you pick out your shot on the court, and you have to shoot it. If you make it, the person that you're playing against has to make the same shot. If you don't, you get the first letter P, and you go down through until it's the pig. So he's already challenged Emily to a game of pig. So she's walking now, and I see a basketball net in the future for Christmas. So I'm hoping Santa hears, and we can get her ready to play Dr. Jones. But I also hope that, you know, when she's old enough to go to school, that we can find her a school that's like the Academy. You know, focus on academics, focus on athletics, and a drive to kind of balance the two. So in kind of the Dr. Jones spirit, I challenge the Academy to continue to invest in academics and athletics. Because, you know, academics are wonderful. They provide you the knowledge and the foundation that you need. And athletics provide you with more of the soft skills, the teamwork, time management, and perseverance. So thank you guys for this honor.
Final inductee for the evening is Alex Smith, the youngest of this group, class of 2002. I invite Alex's older brother, Matt, class of 1998, to come forward.
As Jessica said, my name is Matt Smith. I'm here to introduce my younger brother, Alex Smith. I want to start out by making something clear. When Alex was here, he was a girl. He played on girls' teams. Any records he holds are girls' records. I don't know if there's a script for inducting a young man into the Women's Hall of Fame, but we're just going to give it everything we got. As Renee said, seniors at the Harrisburg Academy have to give senior speeches, and I guess one kid goes every week, stands, I don't even remember, I guess up here, in front of the entire upper school between third and fourth periods, and I guess one kid goes every week for the length of the year. For whatever reason, that year Alex went last, He got up, remember he's a girl at the time, and announced to the world that he announced that he was a lesbian. Al was certainly not the first queer person to walk through the doors of the Harrisburg Academy. But I do think that that was a big moment for us all. And to the Academy's credit, from everything I know from him and from my folks, he was embraced, he was appreciated, he was congratulated. It was a courageous act and a glorious moment. The glory didn't last long though. Al, within a few years, found himself back in the closet. He just didn't feel like his identity was matching up with the way the world viewed him. And I guess my question is to you, can you imagine Can you imagine what it's like to be a young man when the world thinks of you as a lesbian? I cannot. And so, you know, as he matured through college and developed a vocabulary and developed, again, courage to articulate something that he had been feeling for his entire life, he again came out, this time not in a speech, but in an email. He sent an email and blasted it to, I think, everybody, and at the end it said, please forward along to anybody I missed. It was eloquent, insightful, compassionate. It was brilliant, and again, it was courageous. I mean, think about the risk that you're taking in this culture, in this political system. So I guess I just want to start out by saying that was probably my 5 to 7 minutes. I didn't mean it to be like that. We're here to celebrate not Al's queerness, but his athletic achievement, and so I guess I'll move on to that now. He played 4 years of softball and 4 years of basketball. Softball, freshman year, that was Renee's year, I guess. They won a championship. Sophomore year, that was Alexis's year. I guess they won a championship. Junior year, he was all-conference. They won a 3rd championship. Senior year, he was captain and MVP, again all-conference, and they won their 4th championship. Success. Basketball, he again played 4 years. Junior year, he was captain and MVP, made the all-conference squad, led his team to districts for the first time, I think, in a decade. Although I may have that wrong. And he also made the Big 15 honorable mention. Big 15 is something that comes out of Patriot News. They print the top 15 girls in the region. He didn't make the top 15, but he did receive honorable mention. I mean, this is big stuff. He's banging with girls from Steel High, and Harrisburg, and Trinity. High honors. Then senior year, again, he was captain MVP, again all-conference. Again, he received Big 15 honorable mention. He finished his career as the school's all-time scoring leader. He found success. He went on to Skidmore College up in Saratoga Springs, and I can remember he tried out for the softball team and the basketball team, were both, and the coaches were pumped, and he quickly decided, more quickly than I was ready for, that he wasn't going to play either. And I remember saying, Al, you know, is this really the way to go? And you put a lot of time into this, and I kind of think there's no going back. And he said, no, you know, I'm really being pulled toward art. I should have seen it coming. He sort of started focusing on art here in high school. He received the Trustees Art Award. Again, a high honor, and he wanted to be a studio art major. I talked to him sophomore year. He had questions. He was in this class with a bunch of other painters, and he said, He said, man, I don't know if this is great. I don't know if I deserve to be here. I mean, I'm in a class with a bunch of artists. I mean, these folks have been doing this for a long time. You should see their stuff next to my stuff. I mean, their stuff is good. These guys are serious. And, but you know, I like it, and my professors say, you got talent, you know, you should really stick with it. They're talking to me, and they're really encouraging me to stick with it. I think I'm going to stick with it. Senior year, Saratoga Springs is a big arts community, and Skidmore has a pretty solid art program. They take it seriously. And every year, there's a senior art show. And at the beginning of the senior year, I don't know, whenever the art show started, he calls us and he says, they picked one of my pieces to advertise the show. So they take one of his pieces and put it on the flyer, and it's plastered all over the school, and it's plastered all over Saratoga Springs. He was pumped. I was surprised, I guess. I didn't get up there that long, and I mean, I didn't really think that it happens in a couple of years. I don't know if it took longer than that. I don't really know. I'm much of an art guy myself. So then they have the senior art show, and one of his pieces wins Best in Show. It's a self-portrait. It's, you know, bigger than my arms and everything. It was brilliant. I mean, it was stunning. I mean, he talked about what it was to paint that piece, and he was going through a breakup at the time, and he had to do this thing. He was on a deadline. He was going through his breakup, and he's got to do this. He's got this assignment. He's got to do a self-portrait, and he talks about how he's just fuming, and he's painting, and he's really thinking about this breakup, and he would sort of disappear for a couple hours, and then step back and look at it, and then sort of go into it, and he can see it. I mean, I think it's really what art is meant to be. It wasn't intentional. It was just sort of him on his canvas. He found success. Now Al is in San Francisco, and he's telling me he wants to get into politics, political activism. And I say, you know, this is great, Al, but you're an artist. You know, you got coming out of you. You can't. I mean, there's nothing you can stop. You need a canvas. You know, you need studio time. Mom and Dad will get you studio time. You gotta do this. And he goes, yeah, I'll be all right. He'll be okay. He gets on a campaign, a city council person there. The campaign lasts 12 or 18 months. His guy ends up losing, but he entered a world. San Francisco is an active place. He's now in this world. And after the campaign ends, they asked him to serve on this committee, this little committee called the Harvey Milk Democratic Club. You know, I don't know San Francisco politics. What do I understand is that this is really a premier LGBT activism organization in the city. I mean, I don't think there's a bigger queer endorsement you can get. Again, he's found success. The point that I want to make is, I don't think Al's success has come, just from being an athlete or being an artist or being a political activist. I think that his success has come from his love of life, his enthusiasm, and the fact that he sees the best in us in a way that pulls us to him. Jean Serino, who coached him for 4 years in basketball and 4 years in softball, I think might have realized this before I did. She says, more importantly than the stats and what position Alex played is his character. Alex is a player that every coach dreams about. If his teammates were standing here, I think they would all give tribute to what a great teammate he was and how much they enjoyed being on the team with him. He has found success, and I guess one of the things I want to note is that I think one of his big diving boards was his podium. It's a high honor to be up here tonight to introduce to you the passionate, magnetic, and courageous Alex Smith. Really nervous, and this isn't going to be nearly as good as that. Wow. Thank you, Matt. Good evening, everybody. I'm really honored to be here. I flew up from San Francisco last night, and I'm flying out tomorrow, so it's going to be a whirlwind here, but I feel really honored to be here and chosen to be inducted tonight, along with so many other talented athletes and students from the Academy. And I'm also just really excited, honestly, to be celebrating our school's athletic program and also our academics and our long history of good character. A little bit about my athletics here. I played basketball and softball from 98 to 2002. We had an amazing championship softball team. We won, and while I was on the varsity team, we won the championship 4 years in a row, and I do attribute a lot of that to our rock star pitcher, Ms. Andrea Bellis, who is somewhere in the crowd. Oh, there she is in the back. I was the catcher, but she was definitely the star of the show. She was a phenomenal pitcher, but the entire team worked so hard for every single one of those championships, and we just had a glue that worked, and it was really exciting to be a part of that, and I have a deep sense of pride for those 4 years on that softball team. And of course, under Coach Serino and also Mrs. Healy, their direction and mentorship was huge. In basketball, basketball was definitely my favorite sport, though it wasn't the sport that we as a team succeeded at the most. But it was definitely my favorite. I loved how fast it was. And I remember how when we would finally get in shape, whether it was halfway through the season or the beginning of the season, or whether it was at summer camp, playing basketball 12 hours a day, when we finally just hit our stride and started moving together, and we worked hard and we moved fast, and it was like this sense of like invincibility that you get when you're like, I can go as hard as I can absolutely imagine going, and I won't stop because my endurance can take it, and I can go. And that it just felt so good to just feel like I can play this entire game, and I'm still going to be standing, and I can still play more. You know, that was a phenomenal feeling, a feeling of that is rare, and I don't know times I've felt it since. So yeah, in basketball, I currently hold the women's high school scoring record, and I really hope to be ousted very soon from that. We have yet to have a Harrisburg Academy female athlete to break that glass ceiling of 1,000 points, and I really want to see that happen soon. We deserve that, for sure, big time. So Coach Serino gave me a call and told me that I was going to be receiving, or was chosen to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and she asked me to send her a line to be put on the plaque. And I don't know if any of you saw it, but it might seem a little dark, but I didn't really mean it to come across as dark at all. I really meant it really in a very positive way, and it reads, just so in case you haven't seen it, it says, the Harrisburg Academy has always competed against larger giants, and it was common to feel like the heroic underdog. We all learned about losing. Through teamwork, dedication, and practice, we also learned the glory of victory and about the sportsmanship that came along with it. And those were invaluable years to my growth. And what does that mean? I guess what I was trying to convey with only the 200 characters or something that you gave me was that we rarely played against schools our size. We were always, I really think we were always the smallest. We had, anyone that went to this school knows that we had about 30 kids in our grade, and if you were older than us, you probably had less kids in the grade. We always played schools that were 2 or 3 times the size of us, and if we wanted to win, if we wanted it, we had to practice longer, we had to work harder, we had to spend more hours on it, and we really had to want it. And
there we learned, obviously, these really important lessons about practice and putting in good work will yield success. And those things that people say, what you can do whatever you put your mind to, you can do it. It's true. It is true. If you work hard, you practice hard, you can do it. And we learned that. I also think that it's important for winners to know what it feels like when you're not at the top. And I think that we learned that here. Because we definitely were not always at the top. As Alexis said, we had losing years and we had winning years, you know? And so, not only is it important for winners to know what it's like not to be at the top, it's also important to have leadership on a team and helping your younger, less experienced players out. And all these things that we're talking about, that's sportsmanship. And that's part of what I was trying to convey on the plaque. And practice day to day sportsmanship, that's political. It's doing good in the world while being successful. I'm honored that the Harrisburg Academy has decided to induct a guy into the Women's Hall of Fame. And I applaud the school for being brave enough to do that. The school has always supported me. Teachers and mentors, student body has always supported me. And when I came out in high school, I was applauded and supported. And this school was and it is a family who cares. And that says a lot about this institution's character. On top of its academics and its athletics, it's a strong sense of character. I started my transition 5 years ago, and I guess I want everyone to realize what's happening tonight is very important. It's sending a very strong message to our young LGBT, queer, and trans youth. And that message is saying it's okay to be different. And we will applaud you, and we will applaud your achievements. We will support you. And that's an invaluable message for our youth to hear. It is political, it's social justice, and it's sportsmanship. Thank you so much for
showcase the professional and academic endeavors of our alumni. The first Alumni Award is the Rising Star Award, which recognizes a young alumnus who has demonstrated promise and achievement in his or her professional life. This year's recipient is Dr. Zachary Shiner, class of 1993, and he also joins us from the West Coast. I now invite his former teacher and mentor, Mr. Randy St. John, to the stage to say a few words about Dr. Shiner.
Zachary Shiner joins us tonight from San Francisco to accept the Harrisburg Academy Rising Star Award. Welcome back, Dr. Shiner. Well, before we talk about Dr. Shiner as a rising star, I want to go back in time and talk about Dr. Shiner when he was not yet a rising star, but just a lesser twinkler. I want to go back in time to when Dr. Shiner was just Zachy. Before we go back to Zachy as a Harrisburg Academy sophomore in 1990, we need to talk a little bit about what high school students are like. High school students are just starting to separate themselves into camps, into areas of specialization. One camp is composed of the physically gifted. They're persistent, they're focused on victory, they have drive, they have courage, they're willing to work exceptionally hard, endure physical hardships, they believe in no pain, no gain. And those students who are not in this camp refers to those who are in this camp as jocks. The second camp is composed of students who are learning, or dying to learn how things work, why things are the way they are. They're thrilled to learn higher mathematics because math empowers them to be better scientists, better investigators of nature. They believe that the world is made of matter and energy, and by understanding those two things, they can learn how the world works, what causes things, why we are the way we are. And those students who are not in this camp refer to those who are as nerds. The final camp is composed of those who love the arts. They have deep emotional lives. They love creativity. They feel that the arts, whether it be literature or poetry or drama or dance or music or visual arts is what makes life meaningful. And students who are not in that camp refer to those who are as flakes. Now, those of you who are here tonight who are teachers know that sometimes you get a jock who's also a nerd, or sometimes you get a jock who's also a flake, but it's rare, even in a school like ours that encourages participation in all three of those camps. But if you teach long enough, maybe once, maybe twice in your whole teaching career, you get the trifecta. You get a student who's in all three camps, someone who's open-minded and embraces the value of all three camps, sees what's good in all three camps, lives and thinks in all three camps, and that brings us back to Zachy. Zach is the trifecta that teachers dream about. In 1990, I was teaching an evening class that Zachy was taking and involved studying math and science and literature and political philosophy. And I very quickly realized that Zachy was deeply, genuinely, honestly interested in everything. All disciplines, all writers, all points of view. He was willing to look everywhere for answers to questions about what life was all about. He has a truly synoptic, all-encompassing mind. And he was a jock. Tennis team, two-time MVP, SIAC championship team his senior year. But let's move forward in time. In 1993, Zachy graduates from Harrisburg Academy. He goes to Yale. He earns a BS in molecular biophysics and biochemistry. And he moves back to Harrisburg to accept a one-year teaching job at the academy. During the year, his dad became ill, and Zach ended up staying for 3 years. Please note, additional quality, dedication to family. But it gets better. Zach spends 3 years here as a science and math teacher and becomes a soccer and tennis coach, too. Please note, additional quality, pay it back. Help the school that helped you. But it gets still better, especially for me. For those years, he's taller now at this point, and he's not Zachy anymore. Mr. Shiner co-teaches my philosophy class. It's not a contract requirement. He's not getting paid to do it. He just wants to read and to discuss. Please note, additional quality, still curious about everything, still open-minded, still wants to look everywhere for answers. But in 2001, it's time to move on. Zach enrolls at University of Washington in Seattle, and in 2007, earns a PhD in neurobiology and behavior. Currently, the now Dr. Shiner is a science officer at California Institute for Regenerative Medicine in San Francisco. He manages and monitors a $10 million portfolio of stem cell research grants that are concentrated in translational neuroscience. He does grant review, published a number of scholarly articles that I tried to read but couldn't. Zach, the circadian oscillation of hippocampal MAPK activity lost me pretty quickly. Zach stays involved with young adults as a speaker on stem cell research, as a judge, and also as a judge at the Intel Science and Engineering Fair. So, my friend, we were very proud of you when you were Zachy and you went off to Yale, and we were ever so proud of you when you came back and joined the faculty as Mr. Shiner, and we're so very, very proud to welcome you back here tonight as Dr. Shiner, our rising star.
Thank you, Randy. I think you're the only one who called me Zachy, but you did. I remember. And also, compared to the people who were inducted earlier, I was definitely a nerd, not a jock, not in that category. But it's really great to be back here. What a fantastic evening, and it's an honor to receive this award. It's also a pleasure to follow Stacy Goldstein, who received this award last year. Stacy has been a friend since kindergarten, and she never lets me forget that in first grade I slept over at her house in Spider-Man underoos. Stacy's here tonight. Really special. So the Academy, as we've heard about, is really a special place to receive an education. And there are many reasons: the small classes, the arts and music programs, the opportunities for everyone to participate in sports and extracurricular activities. But really, I think the main reason is the teachers. I can still name almost every teacher I had at the Academy, and I imagine that most of the alums in the audience could do the same thing. I think of these teachers surprisingly often. One of the greatest gifts they gave me was the ability to write. When I entered college, I was immediately intimidated by the quality of students around me. But it was a relief to find out that writing was an area that the Academy had given me a leg up. I had years of essays and papers, drafts and rewrites, and in-depth feedback that's only possible with small classes and dedicated teachers. The benefits of this education in writing were apparent in my freshman English class in college, and they're still apparent today, because science writing actually opened the door to my current position. So I often think back to my writing mentors at the Academy, starting my lower school teachers, and then Ron Sentz, Karen Morrow, Billy Frederick, Susan Roller, and Lee Marsh. I still think of Terry Bowie every time I go to a museum, especially when I see something that looks like negative space. I think of Steve Stewart when I read about the Civil War. I just read Lincoln Douglas, so I'm hoping for some extra credit, Mr. Stewart. Great extra credit. I think of Pam Sanders when I play bridge, which is just the greatest card game I've ever played, and she taught that to students before school my junior and senior years. I think of John Joy, who inspired and encouraged me to pursue science. And I think of Randy St. John when I pick up a book on an unfamiliar subject, or I cut out on work to attend a seminar at UC San Francisco or Stanford that isn't quite work-related, but it just sounds interesting. Because Randy, to me, embodies the intellectual curiosity and lifetime love and learning that are the Academy's greatest gifts. So I really want to thank the Alumni Council for this award, and even more so for providing me the opportunity to return and reconnect with the Academy family. Thank you.
The next award of the evening is the Service to Humanity Award, which recognizes the individual who, in his or her personal or professional life, has demonstrated a commitment to bettering the lives of others in their community, nation, or the world. This year's recipient is Dr. Catherine Zerbe, class of 1969, and also Dr. Zerbe was the Academy's Alumna of the Year in 1994. She comes from Portland, Oregon, so it's become a West Coast thing tonight. And I now invite Dr. Kelly Holloway to the stage to say a few words on her behalf.
And I have to say I'm incredibly envious and jealous that I didn't have this opportunity. It's an amazing place, it sounds like, and I have the honor and the pleasure of being able to introduce Dr. Catherine Zerbe tonight. And I first heard about Dr. Derby, it's been over 20 years now. And what I heard was there's this brilliant woman that she needed to meet. This was when I first went to the Mentor clinic as a psychiatrist. And all I heard about was this brilliant woman, Dr. Catherine Derby, you need to meet. So we got here. Okay. Probably a little stooped over, a little bit of hump on her back, kind of gray hair, very old, but brilliant. And I do want to meet her, and that was very exciting. And imagine my surprise when this incredibly beautiful, blonde-headed woman walks into the room, breezes into the room, and introduces herself. And that was Cassie. And I can say that since then, there's just been a tremendous amount of things about her that have continued to amaze and astound me. And so I do want to tell you just a little bit about Dr. Zerby and what she's been up to since she graduated from the Academy in 1969. And I'm going to read this part because I can't keep up with it all. Dr. Zerby is a training and supervising psychoanalyst now at the Oregon Psychoanalytic Institute, where she also is the active director of the Oregon Psychoanalytic Institute. Currently, she's in private practice in Portland, Oregon, where she also serves as clinical professor in the Department of Psychiatry at Oregon Health and Science University. Prior to moving to Portland in 2001, Cassie held the Jack Aaron Chair in Psychiatric Education and Women's Mental Health at the Menninger Clinic in Topeka, Kansas. After completing her undergraduate studies and honors at Duke University and attending medical school at Temple University, she did her psychiatric training at the nationally and internationally renowned Menninger Clinic. And she stayed on staff there for almost 23 years. While she was there, administrative and clinical positions included team leader and staff psychiatrist, section chief and director of the Eating Disorder Program, director of the Adult Outpatient Services, dean of the Carl Menninger School of Psychiatry, vice president for research and education. Dr. Zerby also completed her psychoanalytic training at the Topeka Institute for Psychoanalysis in 1991 and was appointed training and supervising psychoanalyst in 1995. That's one part of her career. But she also is frequently requested speaker both nationally and internationally. Dr. Zerby lectures on topics that include eating disorders, women's health, professional well-being, and the psychology of the 19th and 20th century artists. She has authored over 200 clinical papers, book chapters, reviews, and has 3 self-authored books, including The Body Betrayed, Women Eating Disorders and Treatments, and also Integrated Treatment of Eating Disorders Beyond the Body Betrayed, which I highly recommend in both books. Over the years, Dr. Zerby has received multiple awards for her teaching and her publications. She's done the Academy well. In 2005, she received the Alexandra Simmons Award for contributions in leadership in promoting women's health and advances for women from the American Psychiatric Association and the Association of Women Psychiatrists. In 2007, the American Psychoanalytic Association recognized her teaching contributions with the Edith Satchin Award. She is a distinguished fellow of the American Psychiatric Association, a fellow of the Academy of Eating Disorders, for which in a little less than 2 weeks she will receive a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Eating Disorder Academy. She's also a member of the American College of Psychiatrists and of the American College of Psychoanalysts, and she has been selected repeatedly as one of the best, America's best doctors. I would also add that she has received numerous teaching awards and And those have been chosen by her psychiatric residents that she's taught and given back to throughout the years. So with all of these accomplishments and academic accomplishments, I would like to add that in her life, to paraphrase the great singer-songwriter Stevie Nicks, that Cassie has taken time to laugh and to sing. She has danced. She has romance. She is outrageous. And her smile when you look at her is contagious. And it is an incredible and heartfelt honor for me to Vanessa to give this award to you. At least acknowledging that this award got given to you, it's acknowledging.
Oh, Kelly, thank you so much for a wonderful introduction, and I dare say I'm glad that I wasn't that old when we first met. It is a wonderful an evening to be here and to see how the Academy has grown and transformed itself over many years. It is still the wonderful school that it was in 1969, but it has certainly brought itself into the 21st century, as I hear from the other awardees tonight. It is a special pleasure for me to be sharing this award with my extended family here in Pennsylvania. My friend from in utero, Kath Liddick, and her husband, Clyde, and my former senior English teacher, now Dr. Paul Johnston from Sarasota, Florida. And I have to say to all the parents of teenagers that there is something to be said for a slight teenage crush when one is in 12th grade. Because if you don't like writing papers, but you have a teacher you really like, you will do the very best you can for him or her. I'm here as proof of it. First, I want to take you back a little bit to the Academy decades ago and to a talk in the then auditorium by Mr. Ford, science teacher of the 7th grade. Mr. Ford had as his topic determination, and he began with the following folk tale. There was a magician who went down, I like that, a magician who went down to a rocky beach like we have in Oregon, and he saw this man, and he gave this man a metal bracelet and said, if you go out on this beach, you're going to find one stone, and it will turn any piece of metal you find into gold, solid gold. Obviously, the man knew that he was going to become very wealthy if he could find that one stone. So he goes down, gets the bracelet, goes down and he starts taking stones and looking at the bracelet, throwing a stone away, and he takes another and he looks and it's not gold yet, and he takes another and he throws it away, and he keeps doing this. And finally, he looks down and all of a sudden, the metal bracelet has turned to gold and he has thrown the stone away. As others have talked about tonight, what Mr. Ford was talking about then was the characteristic of perseverance. But there was no way that he could know that in his audience, one of his 13-year-old students would hear that story. And although she had hated school up to then, all through elementary school, and had not done very well in it, she was listening, and she thought, maybe there's a chance. Maybe there's a chance I could get better if I just applied myself. And this was a whole 1, 2, 3 decades before people that I've met tonight who have master's degrees in special education are now doing things like what was common at the Academy back then. Drills, homework, papers, term papers, practice. It was then just common knowledge that practice makes perfect. And now, neuroscience as well as educational science really shows that achievers come about by constant practice. And this Mr. Ford had no way of knowing that in his own discipline of science, it would be 3.5 decades before fMRIs and PET scans would show that the teenage brain of some, quote, underachievers that was just coming online with prefrontal lobe development and myelinization would help those who are seemingly left behind get a start. And certainly, Mr. Ford would never have imagined, because he was a very modest and humble man, that unless he was a magician and had a crystal ball, that student listening to him that day would think back many times with her own patience to that story and many other life lessons she learned in this school. Most of the time, when we think about life lessons, we don't do it consciously. They become such a part of us. We do it implicitly. It's called implicit memory. But sometimes those life lessons become explicit. We have to conjure them up. And I want to tell you about just one way that this particular story became important to me. I was treating a young woman in the 1990s who was not that much older than the junior or senior students who were in the International Baccalaureate program at the Academy. She was a very bright young woman, but quite depressed, had a serious eating disorder, wonderful supportive family. But she was in bad shape, and she had bottomed out at 3 different hospitals. And she would come in to sessions, or she would get very agitated when staff would leave her, and she would begin to shake and cry, and she would scream out, "Dr. Z, just don't quit me. Just don't leave me. I'm trying so hard to get better. I'm really, really doing the best I can." And despite all of the training, I never knew quite what to say to her. But one day I told her that very story of Mr. Ford's. And I ended it by saying, "Marie, you're not on this journey alone. We're simply trying to find that stone." Now, of course, in real life, as Alex, Matt, Alicia, Renee, Mindy, Randy St. John, Zach, Steve, all of us know, most of the things that come to us in life that seem to be magic are not really single stones. They're actually little pebbles that come by way of accretion. And any of our personal development depends on so many factors. The true awardees tonight don't get to come to the stage. There are the faculty members and the parents, especially the parents, who write the tuition checks or go out to the barn one more time because horses are her dream, or decide to go to that robotics class even though it bores you to tears and you'll never get it. but you do it because your love is selfless and you have decided to pass it on. For Marie, now 40, and I get a Christmas card from her every year, the mother of 4, 3 adopted, 1 her own. She tells me that things are going well, although it's a struggle. And she reminds me sometimes of all of the journeys and all of the walks we had together. The one I remember the most, ladies and gentlemen, was when she was leaving Topeka to begin a new life with her significant other and their new adopted baby. Therapy was moving along swimmingly, to my satisfaction anyway, and I thought to hers. When suddenly, and it seemed like 4 weeks, she fell silent. It was awful. I didn't know what to do. I tried every trick in the book, tried to pull out every stone from my purse, throw it around, made interventions up to kazoo, thought, okay, different medicine, different this, different that. Finally, I got it. I said, Cassie, she's mourning. She's leaving Topeka. She's going to miss the relationship that you've had. You've commented on it, but you haven't done it in such and such a way. So I proposed the following intervention. I said, you know, Marie, I think you're sad because you're thinking about your life journey. You're thinking about all of the loves you've had, all of the ups and downs, the roads we've traveled together, and how much you've individuated, how much you've grown. And she stopped for a minute, and she thought about that. And then she shook her head and said, nah. She looked up to say, but I will tell you something, Dr. Z, that I have been thinking about. And I was so relieved because finally she was going to say something. She said, I have been thinking about how much you have individuated and you have grown and you have improved as a psychiatrist. I really mean it. You are so much better now than you were then. And she went on to tell me in great detail, and I dare say I would have to agree with most of it, that she was mostly right. How prescient Mr. Bickford, my 6th grade teacher, was when he penned a pivotal insight into this school's alma mater. Bearing witness to another's heart expand and grow is mutual harmony. In clinical psychiatry, as in life, both of us have to win or nobody wins. Growth is always a co-creation. Tonight, with deepest gratitude for the family and friends and faculty who were the essential platform that led to the fulfillment of my dreams and overcoming a learning disability, and to all those teachers we have long through our lives, like Marie, who keep telling us that we're all a little half-baked, we're never quite done, we're always a work in progress, and that we must be ever vigilant for finding those little rocks and pebbles on the shore, because they may have mysterious and deeply satisfying capacity to help transform another person's life. Thank you for what I consider to be
Our final award for the evening is the Professional Achievement Award. It recognizes outstanding accomplishments accomplishments by an individual in his or her career or professional life, and we could think of no better recipient than Dr. Jeffrey Morrison, class of 1988. I now invite his brother Eric, a member of the class of 1990, to come forward and say a few more personal words on his behalf.
Thank you very much. Clearly a distinct honor to be here tonight to introduce my brother for the Professional Achievement Award. My brother, as many of you know, he's a nationally renowned physician. He's a successful businessman. He's an entrepreneur. He's a published author. Cleanse Your Body, Clear Your Mind. This was just published in April. For all of you who may not have bought this book, please go out and buy it. Cleanse Your Body, Clear Your Mind. So my brother has come a long way. I think George Gonzalez can attest to that. My brother was a lacrosse player here at the Harrisburg Academy. We both took Spanish together. We both struggled to get through Miss Alita's class together, but we did do it. And, you know, where this all started with my brother becoming a physician was, I can remember back to when I was 5, you were 3, I was 3, you were 5, and my parents would ask us, what do you guys want to do for a living? Hey, I'm 3 years old, my brother's 5 years old. You know, we had no idea. I wanted to be a bus driver, he wanted to be a truck driver, and my dad would always say, no, Jeff, you're a doctor, and Eric, you're a lawyer. And that was we were pretty much brainwashed for years and years and years, and sure enough, though, that is in fact how it turned out. So, really, though, the Harrisburg Academy, for my brother, I'm sure he would concur, this was the foundation that enabled him to achieve greatness. You know, we started out, both of us started out in public school. I came to the Academy in 9th grade, he came to the Academy in 11th grade, and that was, from my perspective, a turning point in both of our lives. The faculty, the attention we got here, the education, the ability to even succeed in sports, which were clearly, I'm frankly waiting for Jeff to get an Athletic Achievement Award also. I think you deserve it. That's your brother speaking. But this was the foundation upon which Jeff's success started. So from the Harrisburg Academy, Jeff went on to the University of Rochester, and then on to Jefferson Medical School, which really was the place where he caught the bug for alternative medicine, Eastern medicine, Asian sort of medicine, and that's really what led him to practice with Dr. Atkins in New York City. And that's where this whole complementary medicine, this integrative medicine that he practices today, which is, a lot of people would say, is very cutting edge. It's a combination of conventional medicine, of Western medicine, some would say, and a combination of Eastern medicine. And that's where you get this integrative medicine approach that my brother employs today to great success. So he's taken the success from Dr. Atkins, and he opened up his own practice called the Morrison Center on 5th Avenue in New York City. You know, people say if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, and I think my brother's a great testament to that. We're extremely, extremely proud of him. He's published a book. He's on the board of ACAM, which is a National Integrative Medicine Association. He's on news channels throughout New York. He's probably one step away from Dr. Oz. After tonight's award, we fully expect that's the next step. So Jeff, I just want you to know that your family is extraordinarily proud of you. To have your alma mater honor you like this is, I don't know what could be greater than that. And I can't think of anyone who's more deserving. So we're very proud of you, and congratulations.
Well, thank you very much for this prestigious award, and thank you for inviting me back to Harrisburg. I really love the opportunity to come back to Harrisburg at any opportunity that I can. And for this prestigious award, I just can't even tell you how much this means to me. After hearing everyone speaking tonight, I must say it's a hard act to follow. Everyone that spoke tonight had such valuable things to say and such valuable things to take away. It's really truly a testament to the education and the community that Harrisburg Academy has created. As Eric was telling you, we grew up in Harrisburg. We've lived here all of our lives. I had the great opportunity to actually attend Harrisburg Academy, actually also in kindergarten, first and second grade. And that was I sort of was growing up in a fairy tale land, because then I went to public school, and it was sort of like the dark ages of my education career. I didn't feel like I was nearly as well appreciated. I didn't have the individualized attention. It was a shock to me to see what school could be. In Harrisburg Academy, it's not just about the education, it's also about the individual. There's very specific values that people at Harrisburg Academy are able to get instilled in them. And those values include hard work, creativity, and independent thought. These are values that I took with me from my 11th and 12th grade years, and that sort of helped give me the confidence in myself to go on and go through medical school in a very strongly conventional medical school, Jefferson, and go on to become an integrative medicine practitioner, which, when you speak to most conventional doctors, it's just, you're almost looking at a brick wall when you start talking about nutrition and how important lifestyle is for improving a person's health. Nowadays, people are really starting to catch on to the concept that preventative medicine truly has the capacity to help extend people's lives. And when you look at the two biggest killers in the United States, which are heart disease and diabetes, they are extraordinarily linked to how a person lives their life. And what I've done is I've taken that as sort of a rallying cry to develop my practice, sort of almost against, hopefully building upon what conventional medicine has brought to us, and extending that to helping people become aware with how they live their lives on a very fundamental level. As Eric was telling you, I do have my own practice. I did write a book that has been successfully received by my peers and other people that have read it. And my next endeavor, which I'm very proud of, is I'm beginning the process of helping to provide information that individuals will be able to take to enhance their own ability to take care of themselves. Right now, our conventional medical system is making people extremely beholden to them. When a person gets a cold, they call up their doctor. There was a time 100 years ago when a person got a cold, they would ask their mother or grandmother how to take care of themselves. And what I'd like to do is help begin the process of helping to re-educate people on how to take care of themselves again. And this process is starting with the very fundamental step, which is basically just doing one thing every day that will help to benefit your own health and wellness. This is a concept that I'm calling daily benefit. And it's basically an opportunity for people to do something for themselves. We're always speaking about doing things for others, and it's very important to do that, but we forget ourselves much of the time. In my office, I'm speaking to people on a one-to-one basis, and I'm helping them to understand that by taking care of themselves, by just making a decision to cook for themselves rather than eat processed food, to go for a walk after work rather than take the taxi or subway, or maybe to call up a family member, or to do some mindful meditation rather than drinking spirits at the local bar after work. These are healthy choices that we all can make for ourselves. And I really feel that the reason I was able to develop this type of concept, to sort of break free of what I learned in conventional medicine and build upon that into this integrative medicine system that I have today. It all starts with the values that I learned at the Harrisburg Academy, where I learned about hard work, creativity, and also independent thinking. So, everybody here, thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate the Alumni Nominating Committee for having me. I thank my mom and dad for all the wonderful lessons that they taught me, and I wanted to thank all the teachers as well, because without you, we wouldn't be here. And frankly, I was thinking to myself, how appropriate. It's really nice that I'm getting this award, but I really think Harrisburg Academy should be getting the award for turning out great students like we have today, turning these students into great people. So thank you very much for having me, and thank you for this wonderful.
I was saying earlier that this is always a special evening for us because, rightfully so, we spend a lot of our day focusing on our students and our parents, but this is one of the few times that we get to focus solely on our alumni, hear your wonderful stories, and most importantly, celebrate your successes. I congratulate each of you on your awards and thank you for being wonderful ambassadors of the Academy. I now invite Emily Davis-Kossoff, class of 1986, to the stage for some closing remarks.
This is the second year that I've been back to the Academy to celebrate this evening, and I congratulate all of the recipients. I think what I take away from these nights is just celebrating the wonderful stories that you bring us and your achievements. And thanks again. This is truly an extraordinary institution. I don't have anything to top what you've given us tonight, and I have some things to tell my kids when I return home about the stories that I heard. And thanks, Jim, for inviting me back. Jean, for guiding this committee. You really do the yeoman's work for this. Again, pleasure to be back. Thanks for a great evening.